Welcome to the Workbench and welcome to another episode of Wheels Wings TV. Today we have the new 1/72 scale Tiger 1 from Airfix. Let's have a look. First sprue. So Airfix has taken a beginner-friendly approach to this and given you the option of all the tracks and wheels molded into a couple of big chunks. Doesn't say much for detail, but definitely takes care of simplicity. Hopefully you won't have a big weird seam gap down the middle for the tracks, but that's where you just slap a bunch of mud on there and you'll never notice. Not a lot of definition between the wheel and the rubber rim, so it might be a bit tricky painting those and making them look neat. Hub detail is there, but a bit soft. Looks like there's some sort of almost like surface cracks. I don't know if the plastic didn't quite make it in all the way. So those, I mean, you could pass those off as scuffs and scratches and wear and tear on the wheels, but yeah, that's not good. Drive sprocket looks good. Idler looks good. Shouldn't look too bad, but you know, you're forsaking a bit of detail on the tracks and the guide horns and everything like that. But hey, if you're just starting out, that gets you tracks done in one step. Got our turret halves, turret roof, mantlet, stowage bin. Of course, the top of that's molded to the turret. Got our almost one-piece gun barrel with the muzzle brake molded in two pieces. A little bit of a seam line there, but not too bad. Yeah, I guess the escape hatch molded separately on the turret. Cover for the ventilator. Don't look too bad. Nice bolt detail on the mantlet there. Little bit of flash in some of the corners here. It's not something you should really be seeing on a brand new tooling, but nice little openings for the periscopes and the commander's cupola. Actually get a decent looking little jack block there. The exhausts. Now, this was a little armored cover, so that should be open with just little struts holding this top piece on. I don't know if there would have been an easy way for them to do that in 72, but maybe having that separate and molding top down so you get the little pins just to have that hollowed. I suppose you could cut that off and replace that, but I suppose you get careful painting, you can make that pass muster. That's a little simplified though. Armored covers look okay. You can maybe thin those down a little bit, because those I believe those should just be, sorry, correction, yeah, those weren't really armored covers, those were just sheet metal covers, so those should be a little bit thinner and dinged up a little bit. Not too bad. hatch detail's a little soft. Would have been nice to maybe seen separate hatches in a commander figure. Not something you get a lot at 72nd scale, but it's passable. Got our upper hull with the engine deck. Grills definitely look nice and sharp. Of course, there would be a photo etch. No, there would be a fine grill over top of that, which we would normally use with photo etch. So you might be able to get something for a dragon or a trumpeter kit that would fit, or make your own, but still wouldn't look horrible by itself. Some of the tools just kind of hanging out on the top of the hull here. No real, the wire cutters and the shovel here, no real discernible clamps to hold them down. So it looks like they're just kind of just plopped there. Maybe take a little bit of plastic or a little piece of tape or something like that, just to make it look like they're actually being held in place. This shovel here has got some, a hint that there's some clasps holding it down, and the hammer here, but this shovel and this wire cutter just chilling. Lots of holes in the rear hull for the exhausts and the covers. Sides of the hull with the fenders. Nice little bolt detail, and the fenders are actually relatively thin. Definitely cut those and separate them a little bit, and bend and twist them, make them look a little bit more beat up. And we got the lower sides of the hull with our suspension arms and axles. I don't know why they went to all that detail. You don't really see that much, especially at this scale. And we got some big ejector pins, but those should hopefully be hidden behind the wheels, or a liberal application of mud, if nothing else. Final drives for the drive sprockets look okay, but don't really see much once they're in place. Looks like that should go together okay. Not as much flash on this sprue, but still a little bit here and there. And here we got the expert version of the tracks. So separate wheels, Lincoln length tracks. Definitely much more detailed. Got the little ice cleats. Same, not a lot of definition between the wheel and the rubber rim. So you're gonna have to definitely pay attention when you're painting that. You don't have a nice ridge to just run your brush around. Hub detail's okay. Bolts are maybe a little bit soft, but passable. Inner and outer halves of the majority of the wheels, and then the outermost wheels separate pieces, and some ejector pins on the inside of the tracks, but you're not really going to see those. And we got some little raised pips, but yeah, we got these little sockets, so it looks like that helps locate the wheels on the track. That's always nice. It's kind of a shame they didn't do any real detail on the inside of the tracks in terms of between the individual links, but you won't see much except for the very outermost portion, so not a huge loss. I don't know why they bother with the a little bit of bolt detail on the back side of the wheels. You're really going to see that. back sides of the wheels are closer to the late pattern wheels than the early pattern wheels, so I'm not quite sure what's going on there. But not too bad considering we're in 72nd scale. And we've got our drive sprocket, other halves of our idler, a few individual links, more short chunks, and our cables. There's tow cables, and then there's the track changing cables. Which have no discernible detail molded onto them. They are just smooth bars, no braided cable, anything like that. So, I mean, small scale, you wouldn't see much, but it wouldn't have been bad to have a little something on there. You could maybe scrape that with a saw blade, just put a little bit of definition on there, but that's kind of basic. Nice bolt detail on the sprockets. Once again, nice little, the ice cleats on the tracks are there. Maybe a little soft, but they're there. Hull machine gun barrel is a little clunky, but shape-wise looks pretty good. Those would be the individual, I guess those would be the spare tracks for the mounting on the turret. And the ball mount for the whole machine gun. Yeah, not too bad. No, details are all a little bit soft. Not as sharp as I would like to see, but still I think this is, in general, more aimed at the novice modeler, not so much the expert. And decal sheet, Airfix, always use cartograph, and not a lot of decals, as it is an armor kit, not as many as we'd have in an aircraft. 2 different units, crosses, numbers, straightforward. And our instructions are historical blurb, safety blurb. Okay. 2 build options for the track assembly. Recommended less experienced modelers use the pre-assembled tracks on the left. If using simple tracks, steps 1 through 25, skip steps 26 through 60, and then jump right to 61. If you're using the pro level tracks, steps 1 through 22, skip 23 to 25, and then 26 through to the end. But I suppose you could probably build the rest of the tank and decide how brave you want to be at the very end. Bottom of the hull with these 2 sides. The rear of the hull with I'm not quite sure what they're calling out for here. I assume this means looks like the back side of the sponson here is angled slightly towards the front, so there should be a little overhang. I guess, yeah, looks like there's supposed to be a little. The rear hull is straight, but the back of the sponson tapers towards the end, so I guess don't bend the rear plate to match that, I guess. front of the top part of the front glacis. I guess if you want your fenders off, you'd have to cut them off. And we've got, I'm going to open up some various holes, probably for all of our various cables and other details. Upper hole goes in place, so put the front in first and then rock and lock into the back. Nice big ledge to glue it against. More holes to open up in the side. That'd be for the other cables. Nothing on the opposite side. Got our exhaust pipes going to the back, and then their covers. Our rear fenders and our jack. The hull machine gun and the driver's vision port. Got our cables going on. Some of our eyelets. The side cables. Mantlet. Of course, make sure you don't, when you glue the two halves together, don't glue the mantlet in place so you can pose the gun, or at least elevate it how you want it and then glue it in place. I'm going to open up all of our holes for our spare track links if we want to use them. Turret roof, stowage bin, hatch, ventilator cover, and those for the gunner, for the gunner's sight. Or loaders, one little periscope of some sort. Main gun goes in with the muzzle brake. Adding our spare track links. And here's where we use our easy tracks. If not, we skip into 26. So we've got our idler wheel, which locks in between the two halves of the road wheels. Drive sprocket, which glues into the front of the road wheels, so they got little tabs here and here, so this locks all into one big chunk. And you got outer wheels, and then our outer wheels, and then lower run of track, which gets aligned with the little pins into the little holes. Same thing with the upper run, and then around the idler, a couple of pieces, around the drive sprocket a few pieces, and wash, rinse, and repeat for the opposite side. So yeah, that's doesn't seem all that painful. So yeah, I'd say toss out the easy assembly tracks and just go for these ones. So that's not that involved. At the very least, if you do build the easy ones, keep these and give yourself a little bit of practice on doing assembly type tracks. Tracks and wheels go onto the hull. Of course, I would leave those separate for painting. Hull goes on, and we have a complete Tiger. And finally, color callouts. So we've got one tank from Normandy in 1944, and a second one on the Eastern Front, I would assume in the winter of 43 and 44. So this one's done in an overall white scheme. Whitewash applied over the camouflage, of course. Over time, this began to wear off, producing weathered finish. So if you want a easy paint scheme, you just paint the whole tank white. Or if you want to try your hand at doing some chipping effects, you paint the whole tank in camouflage, apply some chipping fluid or some masking liquid, apply your white, and then start distressing that and give yourself a nice worn winter whitewash. Or your more atypical 3-tone German camouflage scheme. So this is where we have a problem, however. Tiger 1, commanded by Michael Wittmann, Schwerpanzerabteilung 101, Normandy, France, 1944. Michael Wittmann, of course, being the most celebrated Tiger commander. He was not the most successful, but he was the most famous, especially from his exploits on the Eastern Front, and then at Villers-Bocage in Normandy, where he basically single-handedly annihilated an entire British armor column. Shot them up, ran out of ammo, went back, got more ammo, came back, and finished them off. So a bit of a maverick. However, his Tiger in Normandy was a later production Tiger, which had the all-metal road wheels, did not have the early rubber-rimmed wheels. So technically, this is not an appropriate variant of the Tiger to depict Wittmann's tank in Normandy. He did have an earlier Tiger on the Eastern Front, and I believe Dragon did a kit of that tank with the winter scheme on it. So if you wanted to do one of Wittmann's Russian front Tigers, you could definitely use this kit. If you want to do his Normandy one, you would need a later suspension or a different kit. However, there were lots of colorful Tigers, so you could definitely pick another one. Or if you just want to have a Tiger in your collection, don't worry about it, paint it up, have fun. But yeah, if you're more historically minded, you can't technically do Wittmann's Tiger in Normandy with this kit. So that's a bit of a question mark, because I mean, his tank is well documented, so I don't know how they kind of missed that, unless they were just going for the, you know, the well-known Tiger commander. I think if Airfix wanted to really show off, they would have done an initial Tiger with the dust filters and done Tiger 1 through 1 as it is in Bovington. That definitely would have been something the museum could have sold lots of in their gift shop. But as is, regardless of the inaccurate markings, should give you a nice little Tiger nonetheless. So, the new Tiger 1 in 1/72nd scale from Airfix. Not a bad looking little kit. Detail a little bit soft, and the easy assembly tracks are a little questionable as they are very simplified. But I suppose that's not a bad thing if this is your first model kit ever. Cutting a few corners in assembly is never a bad thing. Gets you quicker to the painting, which is always the fun part. Little bit of a whoopsie on the marking guide, as the kit in the box is not the right variant for the one Wittmann would have used in Normandy. But you can always easily just find pictures of any Tiger 1 you like and paint that up and be happy with it. We will be doing a build review of this kit in the not too distant future, so if you haven't already, make sure you subscribe so you don't miss out on that. Thank you very much, and we'll catch you next time.